Okay, so it's worth pointing out that this is by no means a complete list, and it's likely to be changed as you go through your program, but it's worth taking a look before you do absolutely anything because it can help you plan out how the rest of your code's going to go. Okay, first thing I've noticed with the variables that I've chosen is that I've only collected one random card, and it definitely says 5. Mentioned it in the last video, it looks like a function to me, so we'll come back to it later on in this video. I've taken the success and games count and incorrect ones, and I've also put in the messages. Now, if you remember back to when we were designing what the success messages and the incorrect messages were going to be, we were going to say congratulations higher or congratulations lower was the correct guess. Now, I've thought about it, and I kind of want a, by the looks of it on this one anyway, end game statistics compared to all time. So I'm going to want to keep a session count as well as store the overall games count so far that has been collected over time somewhere in a kind of text file or something, which is why I've put it in as a comment as well. So I'm going to need 6 sets of variables, or 2 sets of 3 variables. I'm going to need a success count, an incorrect count, and a games count for both all time and for that session. So I'm going to make sure I label them, and this is where commenting really helps. If we remember back to, well, you can just about see it right at the top there, the bit that came from the mark scheme that said annotated, or by other means, well-documented pseudocode. Actually, the comments will do that for you as long as you put in the level of detail that explains what you're doing. Now, most of the time variables don't need this, but it does help if you're trying to highlight why you've got duplicates of the same thing. Now, as we go back to the document, you can see that there's quite a few different statements that we can use. I'm currently looking for the one that will allow me to read in from a text file the scores from all time, that sort of things. See, there's loads of them. Aren't quite as many as I would have hoped for, but we've got quite a few, and here are the file ones. Just take a quick look underneath. Yeah, definitely these ones I need. Luckily it's right at the top just to read a line from a text file. Within Python you have to read it in the whole document usually, but we can take a look at that when we go in to do the code. I want to read in just a line at a time from that text file and find out the 3 totals. Might use that text file to store other stuff later on, but right now I just want it to store the success counter, the incorrect counter, and the games counter of all time. Now, if I put into the success count, instead of 0, gonna have to be caps, read line. Let's give our text file a name. It's going to be useful, so we'll call it scores, I think. It's just going to be a text file. And I'm going to want the first line starting with 0. To speed it up a little bit. Not red line, Marshall. We'll come back to that one. I'm going to need the same for each of those counters because we'll store it on the first line, the second line, and the third line for those 3 scores. And it'll just be the number of the score as it comes on through. Might need to cast that as an integer afterwards, but that's going to be more towards the program section. We're going to set all the session counts to 0 to begin with because at the moment it's just about to run. It's just reading all and setting all the variables. It's going to be useful to start from 0. Otherwise we're giving them a little head start. And let's have a look right back at the start. Once you get to a point where you're happy with the number of variables that you've got, you think you've correlated all the ones that you're going to need, again you can add to them and take away from them afterwards. It's worth taking a look at your data flow diagram and seeing, well, what comes next? Now I need to firstly generate 5 random cards, and as I've said before, I need 5 and not the one that I've already got. So actually using a function, which I seem to remember seeing in this document, no, I think it was up. Function, there we go. Functions will allow you to repeat code over and over again, or recall a part of your program that you may wish to use more than once. So say you want to continue your game of play your cards right afterwards, I can just call this function rather than having to restart the entire game. always be useful, a retry button of some description. Let's put this one, I kind of want to see, let's put just a statement or a comment to say that these functions will be run. Could have put one up above the variables, actually thinking about it now, but we can come back to that one afterwards. So functions which return needed values, and they'll be called at least once within each game. The likelihood is that some of these will be run more than once, and we're not just going to end up with the one that generates the 5 random cards. Actually, it's a good name for it. Let's say get. Yeah, I think get 5 cards will be worthwhile. Definitely clear as day as to what that's going to do. Open and close the brackets for now because I don't know anything I'm going to have to pass to it either parameters wise at the moment. Probably the cards are I mind. So it knows what cards it's working with. And you'll see from the examples that anywhere it starts, it ends the function as well underneath. So I might put it this side. There we go. Right, function get 5 cards. I need to end the function as well. Kind of the easy part done just by setting it out, but naming it and working out that we needed a function was the difficult part to begin with anyway. So let's have a think. This function needs to get 5 cards. Now luckily I know how many cards it's going to get, so that kind of suggests to me that I'm going to want a for loop to go through the 5 different cards. So for I and the arrow, starting at 1, it's not going to be to the length of the cards, or it's going to be to 5 because I want 5 cards. Let's keep that as a comment. Definitely useful there. 5 cards. Surprised I didn't put an exclamation mark. Next I want to make sure I'm returning the array. So you can see just before the end function in the example it's got return false. I want to return, oh I didn't close the for loop. Let's go back and do that one. End for. Always worth closing them as we begin with. Random cards is going to be the variable that I use to store, kind of like a list, I'm going to store the 5 cards in so I can call them when I need them. If I just set it up as a list to begin with, we can add to it as well. Okay. Now, at this point it would be so much easier within our code if we could just generate 5 cards on the fly. We could just call the code that I've written at the top for random card and just do it 5 times. The trouble is that I wanted them all unique. I didn't want it to be, say, a random fluke of chance that them all being aces. It wouldn't make for a great game that way. So one of the things you should think about before watching the next video is what features could I use to actually try and get it to loop through those 5 cards but check at the same time that they're each going to be unique, that they're not already in that array. You've done it in Hangman. Take a look at that code. Good luck, and see the answer in the next video.